Hi, good morning. I'm Raleigh Brown. This is another curve flattening concert. Pam Zappardino, the first one in. And I will clunk you too in a minute. We'll wait for a couple more people to get here. It's Sunday morning at 10:30. It's still kind of cold. We had a really cold day yesterday here in southeast Pennsylvania. And it's supposed to warm up today later. Ann Mintz and Clifford Wagner are here, Warren and Janelle, Rhonda Scott Merrick, Ken Nashif, Steve Edelman. Good to see you all. People are filing in. I will now take the time to wish you a happy good morning, clink you in the name of coffee and good fellowship and music and dogs. And Amy Roach is here, and Kathy Marsick, and Bob McKenna, and Donna Greenberg, and FAMAHN1 from Holland. Hi, welcome aboard. And Carol Pratt is here, and Steve Edelman again. And like that. So Aretta and Ron, Donna Bergman, Mark Steele, a good crowd coming in here. And Janelle likes the way I drink coffee. Well, I hardly know. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. So let me start you out with a song. I have a bunch of requests for today, and I have one of my own requests as well. So. Lazy bones sleeping in the sun, how you gonna get your day's work done? You'll never get your day's work done. Sleeping in the noonday sun. Lazy bones snoozing in the shade, how you gonna get your cornmeal made? Never get your cornmeal made. Snoozing in the noonday shade. Now when the taters need spraying, I bet you be praying that the bugs fall off the vine. And when you go fishing, I bet you be wishing that the fish don't bite at your line. Lazy bones loafing through the day, how you gonna make a dime that way? You'll never make a dime that way. And you never heard a word I say. Yeah, when the taters need spraying, I bet you'd be praying that the bugs fall off of the vine. And when you go fishing, I bet you'll be wishing that the fish don't bite at your line. Lazy bones loafing through the day, how you gonna make a dime that way? You never make a dime that way. You never heard a word I say. You're such a sleepyhead. You never heard a word I said. Hoagie Carmichael's great song, Lazy Bones. And let me back up here and say hi to some more people. Steve Davidson is here, and Linda Worster apparently is here, according to Kathy Marzik. And Lori Payne and Rich Fowler and John Hubner still down in Hilton Head with Jeanette. And Susan Douglas, Mike Verbeck, Heidi McClure, Jerry Wordman, and sunny, warmer Colorado. Good for you guys. Harvey Jarvis is here from sunny Glasgow. And Ken Nashif, and Donna Bergman, I said, and Charlie Bryant, and Karen Beatty, my dear friend. And did I say Terry St. James? Lots of folks checking in. Michael Tierson. And if I miss any of you, I apologize. Kate Petrella is here, and Ellen O'Brien, and Betsy McIntyre. And Betsy is a grandma, apparently, from what she's writing here. Congratulations, Bets. And Toby Simmons is here from Encino, California, where it just keeps on raining, from what I'm told right now. And Mark Steele, I said hi to. Deb Libby Clark. Okay, so I've said my initial good mornings to you all. And next up, I'm going to do another request. This is from David Arthur Radcliffe, who requests this fairly regularly, but I only do it once in a while. And this is a tune. This is called Blue Bossa, and it's written in C minor, and it's not much fun to play on the guitar in C minor. So I had tried to play it in A minor, but yesterday I thought E minor would be really good. So that's where we're going to play it today. It's good. You know, when I studied guitar with John Carlini, John had a mechanism that he used called Key of the Week. So every week he'd go around the cycle of fifths. You know, one week you'd play, you'd take maybe a half hour, and everything you played, you'd play in the key of C, and then the next week you'd do F, and then the next week you'd do B flat, and then E flat, and then A flat, and D flat, and F sharp, and B, and E, and A, and D, and G, and then you'd be back to C, all 12 keys. So I did a certain amount of that. I still don't always want to play in the flat keys, but it's nice to be able to jump around in the sharp keys, which are very guitar friendly. So here we go with Blue Bossa. Blue Bassa. And yes, Carol Pred, you did have the name right. And lots of more names showing up here. I have to weed through the names I already said hi to. So Ron Russo is here. And Brian Kuiper. It's a beautiful day in northwest Indiana, 50 degrees. So that's what we're going to get here later today, too. Thank you all for being with me here today. So, we had a big loss for me this week in Raleigh world and in my life in general. Is that my friend, our friend, Dan Daniel, known as Big Dan or Biggie, passed away after a kind of long decline. And I knew Dan since about 1980. Dan was part of the Cherry Tree. And when the Cherry Tree was first founded, which was actually before my time, like I came to Philly in 1980, and the Cherry Tree was founded in 1975 by Jack McGann and by Ann Mintz, who is here with us right now. And it was an interesting conglomerate of people. So there were people who Jack knew from the Jack and Ann both knew from the music world, and let me have a little more coffee here while we talk. And then, because right around that time, Jack had just come out as being gay, there was a whole contingent of his gay friends who became part of the Cherry Tree. And Big Dan was in both of those camps. He was gay, and he was also an avid music fan and very tuned into Celtic music in particular. And so he had a show on WXPN in the early years, and called, I can't remember the exact name, but Gay Dreams was part of it. And this was, at a time when coming out as gay was still really societally risky. And Dan was a brave man, as was Jack McGann. I knew Dan through the Cherry Tree. And over the years, when we both moved away from the Cherry Tree as a kind of meeting place, I didn't see Dan very often, but we were always friendly. And then when Ann started doing house concerts about 10 years ago, and Dan would come to them, and I would see him there, and we became much better friends during that time. And then Dan's declining health. He had congestive heart failure, and then he started having kidney failure, and he was on dialysis, and so he became. He was having a really difficult time. He was living in an apartment, and we would all go over there every month or so and clean it up for him because he just couldn't move around. And then he went. Finally, that became untenable. He went into a rest home, and the rest home was, I always think of rest homes as like a ward with all these beds cramped together or something. But he was in a very nice rest home. It was like a hotel room kind of, and a solo room. But it was still lonely, and it was far enough away that we couldn't get out to see him easily. I went to visit him a couple times. Anyhow. This is all to say that his life had kind of, there was a point at which he knew he was never going to leave that room, and he had a rough time with that for a while, and then he seemed to attain this sense of equanimity, and then when I would call him on the phone, talk to him, he always seemed to be in a really pretty good mood, and he was doing fine, I guess. And then he declined very rapidly over the last week or so, and according to his sister, passed away quietly and peacefully, which is a blessing in its own right. So, so this song I'm going to sing has become a standard folk song to sing in these kind of situations, and there's a good reason for it, So, I think that. I hope Dan's up there somewhere listening and that he hears this. So. He was a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine. He never had no money to pay for his fine. He was a friend of mine. He died on the road. He died on the road. Lord, he was just a poor boy and a long way from his home. He was a friend of mine. He never done no wrong. Never done no wrong. 1,000 miles from home, he never hurt no one. He was a friend of mine. I stole away and cried. I stole away and cried. Never had no money and I can't be satisfied. I stole away and cried. He was a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine. Every time I hear his name, you know I just can't keep from crying. He was a friend of mine. For Big Dan Daniel. Most of us who knew Dan never knew his real first name. It was years before I learned it. I thought it was going to be, he kept it such a secret that I thought it was going to be Endeavor or something, you know. But it turned out that it was Charles. So he's another Charlie, another of our many Charlies. And Dan worked as a union employee most of his life. Not He worked for the union, not just somewhere where he was in the union. So he was a strong supporter of trade unions. And Ann Min says his name was Charles Daniel Jr. So, you reach a point where enough of your friends have left the planet that you become inured enough to it that you don't really have an emotional breakdown, even when you feel things deeply as you lose these people. So I'll never forget Dan. But we'll move on. So I have announcements. So number one, there is, as always, a PayPal link right there, and a Venmo link if you'd like to donate to another Charlie, the Charlie Veterinary Fund. Charlie went to the vet this week, and you can read about it on my page. There's a Charlie Diaries entry about his veterinary visit. It was not without incident, and but he's doing okay. Basically, he's a little bit of a nutcase. I think it was traumatic enough for him that he's still a little bit nutty about it. Let me say hi to the Invisibles, and that's Linda Worster, who's definitely here, Kate Mack, Kit Sarikaku, who probably is not here because it's early morning for her, and Judith Fox, who sometimes is here, and she's a really dear old friend, and Bill Rubenstein, Joel Biget, and Mario Prue, who built this lovely guitar, and Bill Rubenstein, Joel Biget, Mike Stillman, that's the other one. And Rhonda says Kate Mack is here as well. Hi, Kate. And Kate, it's interesting with Kate because it turns out she lives in California, but I actually met her because she visited Philadelphia, and she's friends of an old friend of mine and another cherry tree person. And so we met at a lunch one time, and then that's the only time I met her. And then she said, "Hey, I met you at that lunch." So that was cool. Okay, the other thing I want to do is wish a big, late happy birthday to my spiritual sister, Marcy Marxer. I'm going to pull up a picture of Marcy and me here. So this is Marcy and me a few years ago. We were both a little bit younger then. And that's Suki the dog. And I cropped the picture, but if you could see the whole picture, right behind here is, right behind my left shoulder is the wood stove, which is cooking. And Suki is there. She never minded the wood stove. She dug the wood stove. And I will say that last night I lit the wood stove and we had a fire, and Charlie was totally unreactive to it. He seemed to ignore it completely, which was really nice. I still didn't pull the whole citadel away, so he couldn't totally see it, but he could hear it, and he knew it was happening. And he came over and took a couple little looks, but that was it. No barking. He barked at other stuff last night, but no barking at that. So anyhow, happy birthday to Marcy. Marcy and I, people used to think we were brother and sister. And we did nothing to discourage that idea. So I call her my sister, and she calls me her brother. And then one time we were teaching at Swannanoa, and we were walking back late at night and to the dormitory. And there was some folks sitting on a stone wall there, and a guy said, "Hey, you guys are so great as a brother and sister." He said, I'd really like my kids to meet you just to see that a brother and sister can get along with each other. And Marcy and I looked at each other and said, uh-oh, busted. So we issued a little disclaimer on Facebook, I guess, that we're spiritual brother and sister, which we still are. And Marcy is one of my dearest friends in the world. So happy birthday to her yesterday. You could still go on her page. She has two pages. There's a Marcy A. Markser page, and there is a Marcy Iona Martin. You get it? Iona Martin page. And it's Marcy Iona Martin Markser. You could wish her a happy birthday on either of those pages, and I'm sure she'd appreciate it. Okay. So next up, we have, I talked about PayPal, Invisibles, Charlie, Biggie, Marcy. Okay. So the schedule is that I will be on tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's Monday for my regular concert. And I will be on, and Tuesday morning, Cozy Sheridan, who is still out in Moab, and I'm not sure if Charlie will be with her. I don't think so. I think he's still skiing up in Montana. So Cozy will be doing her show solo, which is fine. She was a solo forever before she and Charlie got together. And as much as he adds to the concerts, there's also something really nice and intimate about just having Cozy there with you. So that'll be at 10:30 Eastern time Tuesday, I'm sorry. And then Wednesday I'll be back at 3, and then we'll discuss the rest of the week where our friends Warren and Slim and Bunny and others may be doing their concerts. Okay? So next up, I had 2 Hoagie Carmichael requests this week, and this will be the second one because we already did Lazy Bones. Stardust by Hoagie Carmichael. So just for the heck of it, I'm going to switch guitars here because I have this new Eastman guitar. We did a taste test of it. I did a taste test of it on Facebook a few days ago. You might have seen that. And it was very interesting to hear what people had to say because I didn't put it up like everybody, kind of voted on what they thought was best. And let me make sure this thing is in tune. Well, we'll try this thing. So it was not my intention to have people vote, but it was really interesting. I didn't think of it as a vote, but I did find it really interesting to see how totally heterogeneous the response was. There were people who were adamant about liking my Martin best. There were people who were adamant about the old Gibson. And there were a few people who were adamant about the Eastman. Now, the Eastman, this guitar, cost about, like roughly a third of what, between a third and a half of what those other guitars cost. So it's really considered a kind of economy model, even though it's not chump change. It's enough, it's one of the more expensive Eastmans. So, but I love the look of it. It looks just like my Martin, which was really expensive. And I really love this wood. If you can't see it really that close here, but if you could, you'd see what a really beautiful grain it has. And Madagascar rosewood is becoming rarer. Martin quit using it already, so this is going to be, they're not going to be making guitars with Madagascar rosewood for too much longer, or else it'll become extremely expensive. So I was kind of lucky to grab this while it was here. And I have one more guitar coming that's made by the Pre-War Guitar Company. And when that comes, it may make this one unnecessary and I might sell it, or I might keep it forever because it's a sweet guitar. It has a really complex bass like a Brazilian rosewood guitar does. Anyhow, this is it. I can't remember all the initials. It's an OM. It's an E20 OM MRTC. I'm going to use that as a password sometime. Shh, don't tell anybody. So this song is written by Jackson Frank, who was an American who went to England in the 60s, maybe the 50s even, but certainly in the 60s, early 60s, and was a big influence on a lot of the British folk singers, and on like Paul Simon, who was in England at that time. And Paul Simon produced the one Jackson C. Frank album that exists. And he wrote this song. It was a kind of folk hit in England. And Bert Jansch came up with a very cool arrangement of it, which I actually teach on the Bert Jansch, the DVD from Stefan Grossman's Guitar Workshop on the guitar style of Bert Jansch. And it's a nice kind of middle difficulty piece. So when I did that DVD, I started with easy stuff and worked through to some fairly difficult stuff. This is kind of in the middle. But a kind of a interestingly 60s-ish folky singer-songwriter song. It's called Blues Run the Game. Catch a boat to England, baby, maybe to Spain. Wherever I have gone, wherever I've been and gone, wherever I have gone, the blues run the game. I think I'm gonna move that capo up just a little bit. Yesterday I couldn't sing it up there. Send out for whiskey, baby, send out for gin. Me and room service, honey. Me and room service, me and room service. We're living a life of sin. When I'm not drinking, baby, you are on my mind. When I'm not sleeping, honey, when I'm not sleeping, when I'm not sleeping, hon, you'll know, you'll find me crying. Living is a gamble, baby, loving's much the same. Wherever I have played, wherever I've thrown them dice, wherever I have played the blues, they run the game. Try another city, baby, another town. Wherever I have gone, wherever I've been and gone, wherever I have gone, the blues come following down. Maybe tomorrow, honey, somewhere down the line, I'll wake up older, so much older. I'll wake up older, darling, and I'll just stop all my crying. Catch a boat to England, honey, maybe to Spain. Wherever I have gone, wherever I've been and gone, wherever I have gone, the blues, they run the game. Blues Run the Game by Jackson Frank, and another one that was really nailed by Bert Jansch, who just had a great voice, and he had a way of putting together inventive guitar arrangements that didn't detract, that added to the tune, but were much more sophisticated than some of their simpler predecessors. That's turning into iced coffee now. The microwave awaits after this is over. So, so if you go back and listen to Jackson Frank's version of this, which I think you can find on YouTube pretty easily, the chord progression is subtly easier. It's more simple, and it doesn't have this. That's like a cool little thing, and this. Beautiful, beautifully wrought piece of music. Okay, so I have one more for you here, and this was a request from Carol Pred. And she has requested it a couple times before, so I've played it twice before, and then I sat down with it last night. I think I've got a nice version of it now. But Not for Me. And Carol will probably tell us who wrote it. It was Rhonda's request? Sorry. I knew you'd requested it before. Sorry, Rhonda. Sorry to have, didn't mean to diss you on that one. Whoever requested it, it's a lovely song. And it, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me, because it starts out the same way with a dominant 7-2 chord, is a song I can't remember the name of. Which I will remember soon. Let me think of it. Nah, I'm not even going to try. It'll pop into my head during the mantra, perhaps. So, here we go. I remembered it this morning. Be happy and be healthy. Be brave and be calm. Be kind, it's a snap. And if you get cranky, take a nap. That last chord was for Linda Worster. Okay, I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow. Have a good day. Cherish your time on the planet.